Okay, so welcome to the Miracle Mind, and it is basically a series of meetings that we have to discover what A Course in Miracles really is. It is not the book, that's what we found out. It's not the book, it's not the blue and gold, like it's not this book. No, it's not this book. No, it's not this book. No, it is A Course in Miracles. It has nothing to do with the book. Ah, good. Okay, that's wonderful. Come on in. Come on in. So, this is A Course in Miracles. So, we're going to discover what it actually is. And today we get help from Master Teacher. That's one thing. We continue in the in the middle of the experience, you could say. Last time we were taken out of it, so I have no idea what's going to happen now because it's really a different part of the talk that we listen to. But there's a succession, and the succession is very, very well chosen. Not by me, but it's like that's unbelievable how everything falls into place. And you will recognize it when you go through this. And so that's what I love to start in today at this time. So one thing that we use in the Miracle Mind is the Manual for Teachers to make sure that we remember parts of our, say, true function, not to become a teacher, an online teacher or anything, to become aware of what is it that you're actually believing, demonstrating, living, being inspired by, and maybe taking a look at the same time at the process of what you actually go through. You can say like everything that we do, say even that you listen to me or that you come to this meeting or that you turn it on YouTube or whatever, is still like has completely to do with the idea of trust. So it's a development of trust that you're actually going through. It's like, why would I believe you? Why would I believe this guy here? Why would you believe it? What he says? Why? So it's a matter of trust, you could say. Now, that is the same for me in receiving this for myself, trusting that what comes out of my mouth is actually that what needs to be communicated at this point. Like I have no concern about it, but I have to trust that that's given and that it's perfect. Like I have nothing to say about it. I don't need to consider it. I just need to be here, be present, show up, and just let that occur, whatever that is. Now, the development of trust, you go through different phases. And you have discovered that so far. Like in your human experience, you go through trust phases too. And some of them, oops, I'm doing something here. Some of them are, leading you directly into, say, some of them are leading you directly into, can you hear me? Yeah? Okay, good. Some of them are leading you directly into despair because you trusted something or someone and suddenly it turns to a whole different experience. So the next time that you will be in the same kind of setup, you might have a doubt if you can trust really what's going on. So here starts the human evaluation of itself, the human condition, you could say, in developing trust or now in becoming a demonstrator of truth, so to speak, in coming to know yourself, trust is the main point. It's like everything is based on it. In our relationships with one another, we see that reflected, but also in your transformation, you see it in the development of your relationships, and especially your relationship to your creator, but also to one another. So, and also to yourself, especially not to forget. So in fact, you discover in the trust of yourself, as you know yourself, that this trust needs to be taken another look at. because some parts of yourself don't make any sense in reality. Some parts of yourself have developed in a certain direction, but have nothing to do with the true you. You could say like most of it, or maybe everything of it. Like all the ideas that I held about myself have nothing to do with what I truly am. So you can imagine that the idea of trust is like the main core of the change of, say, choosing from a separate self-image to a unified subjective experience of your reality, you could say. Now so trust is like the main point in all of it. Yeah, so let's take a look at that. So we have 3 paragraphs that we're going to take a look at today, and I will not stay too long with it, but still it's great to take a look at it, since it's so to the point, and always good to remember. Like, oh yeah, I'm actually going through some phases in which I recognize myself to be. So here's the thing then with trust. Well, let me take a look at this. So it's like section B from what are the characteristics of God's teachers? It's in volume 3 of the book, so the manual for teachers it is. And this is the foundation on which their ability to fulfill their function rests. So who is a teacher of God? Well, anyone who chooses to be one. So there's no, say, admission, control or whatever. It's like, no, you decide. You want to come into this recognition of your part in who you truly are. You have experiences of it. It's like that leads to this teacher of God. It is in a certain sense a word, but it's also a recognition for yourself. Like, yeah, this is what I say, start to demonstrate. Trust. Trust is the foundation on which their ability to fulfill the function rests. Perception is the result of learning. In fact, perception is learning because cause and effect are never separate. Well, that's something to ponder. Perception is the result of learning. And in fact, perception is learning because cause and effect are never separated. Like there's no duality, so they come together. Perception, cause and effect, it's the same thing. The teacher of God have trust in the world because they have learned it is not governed by laws the world made up. It is governed by a power which is in them, but not of them. It is this power that keeps all things safe. It is through this power that the teacher of God look on a forgiven world. Okay, so here I quit for just a second out of the text, just to stand still, like, oh yeah, wait a minute, yeah, perception is learning. So first I think someone else is doing something to me. I grew up with that idea, like I trusted the idea that there are things outside of me that can attack me, or that I need to fulfill myself, that provides something that make me complete, and all this, say, in fact, confusion that you walk around with as a human being, not understanding why things are happening, because that wasn't what you wanted and somebody else seems to be responsible for it. So having undergone a change in which you accept that it all starts here. There's no other cause for anything. It makes it that your perception will change because you recognize that it is really important. You could say it's really important what you think and what you give to the world, since it is literally what you give is what you will receive. So that's why perception is learning. You know, it's like you give, so you will recognize what you have given in what you receive. And that's maybe not always exactly what you thought you were giving. So in other words, there's a learning process taking place in which you recognize, oh wait, I really thought it came from outside, or I really thought someone is attacking me. Now accepting this, it starts here. I have to admit that it was me. It was me thinking that a situation was lacking something. It was me thinking that you were not good enough, or thinking that I was critical because of this and that, because of you. But no, it has nothing to do with you. And here it comes back to me. I feel it. It's like, oh, that's great to release that. Like, I don't have to hold on to it. It wasn't anyone else. Like, it started here. So now, when I take full responsibility, like we said the other day, it's like I'm responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings that I experience. I choose those feelings and I accept them as they come to me, so to speak, because I've asked for it. This is exactly what is going on. So I take full responsibility for them by recognizing that it's not depending on anyone. No, it starts here. It is me. I'm the cause of this. I'm doing this to myself is another expression. You will hear Master Teacher say that many times. Like, I'm doing this to myself. Nobody's doing anything to me. So if I take full responsibility for that, I learned the lesson. I trusted this, what is given me as an idea. I trust the idea and recognize it in the action of it, that it actually works that way. So that's so great about this. It's like I see it at work because I first considered the idea, then I accepted it, and now I'm actually practicing the idea. No, I will not attack you. When I attack you, I feel the pain of it immediately. Now I will take responsibility by saying like, oh, sorry, it really came from myself. It didn't come from anywhere else. Now I see what I tried to do. So here we go, and there's here a lot of fireworks going on. I don't know. Oh, thank you. That's great. Yeah, it's a great idea, isn't it? Yeah. I take responsibility for myself, and suddenly I hear fireworks everywhere. Maybe the time has come then. Wow. Okay, that was it. Now, so next part in this is then the second and third paragraph. I'm going to pull them up to read it to you. So it will tell us a little bit about the phases we go through. So it's the power, is through this power, it says in the last sentence of the first, it is through this power that the teacher of God look on a forgiven world. Right? Recognizing that you're the cause of it, that you're doing it to yourself. There's nobody to correct or nobody to point at, except this one here. When this power has once been experienced, see, says something happens, like this power. Well, let's take another look at this. The teachers of God have trust in the world because they have learned it is not governed by laws the world made up. It is governed by a power which is in them, but not of them. It is this power that keeps all things safe. See, it is through this power that the teacher of God look on a forgiven world. So first I recognize I'm the cause of this. I'm doing this to myself. When I admit that, something else happens. Because I'm actually, say, finding, in fact, discovering a secret that is working through me. I suddenly have the realization I'm doing it to myself. But that's not like I'm guilty now. No, it is like now my mind is open again to receive. So this comes with an experience of the power that is within you. And you see at work, when you, say, put down your sword, when you step back out of the situation, knowing that where it came from, now there's space for you to have a different experience. When this power has once been experienced, it is impossible to trust one's own petty strength again. Who would attempt to fly with the tiny wings of a sparrow when the mighty power of an eagle has been given them? And who would place his faith in the shabby offerings of guilt and, say, shame and guilt of the ego when the gifts of God are laid before him? What is it that induces them to make the shift? What is it that induces them to make the shift? Like, how does this actually happen? First, here's the first phase you go through. First, they must go through what might be called a period of undoing. This need not be painful, but it usually is so experienced. It seems as if things are being taken away, and it is rarely understood initially that their lack of value is merely being recognized. How can lack of value be perceived unless the perceiver is in a position where he must see things in a different light? He is not yet at the point at which he can make the shift entirely internally, and so the plan will sometimes call for changes in what seem to be external circumstances. But these changes are always helpful. When the teacher of God has learned that much, he goes on to the second stage. Now, you recognize this probably. It's like you go through a period of undoing, and it seems like things have been taken away. You can even move to another place, or you can suddenly find yourself in a whole different setup. And you ask yourself, what on earth happened here? So it is not completely, say, conscious yet. That is an internal shift that is taking place, and that is not completely accepted yet. So that's where the pain starts. That's where it becomes painful, because you don't recognize it completely, and that this is an internal shift taking place in you. And it seems like you wanted to hold on to that because it seemed like your safety, but now you see, that is not my safety, so I don't have to be afraid when it changes. I can allow a change in that. But like it says here too, is like it's not always directly experienced as completely painless, since the holding on is really where the pain starts. That's where it stays in pain, because you don't want to let go of it. If you would let go of it, it would be fine. Now that's really easier said than done. So it is a process you go through, unless you accept it immediately. But you might not be completely internally aware of all the aspects of it. All right, so as a good tradition, as a good tradition in the Miracle Mind, we are going to listen now to another episode from the second part of the talk, the, say, scripture of Resurrected Man, and which is it's like a part of the chapter of the book introducing A Course in Miracles by Master Teacher. It's a talk taking place. I shared the last week too. It was like, no, there was, I don't know when it was. Was it yesterday? You gotta be kidding. So there was yesterday. Yesterday we listened to Master Teacher too. Whatever happens in this meeting, whatever happens in this, say, recording, supposed recording, is in fact an offering of an experience. It is not about listening to something. No, it's, say, in fact, giving up the idea that you're separate from it. So in other words, it is an invitation to melt right into it, that this talk is happening right now and you're in the middle of it. So no matter, I said it the other day too, is like, no matter what sounds you hear or releases you hear people go through, remember in fact that it's you. It's not anyone else. So on the other hand, you don't have to repeat these noises or anything like this. Of course not. But you can have your own experience of the release of this, what you have trusted. You're letting go of what you have trusted in, say, an exchange for the new power that is within you and that can come through you by just, say, letting go, by just allowing this shift to occur. Now, that is my little introduction to the moment of this teaching. It's about 12 minutes, I think it is. So they're French subtitles, and yeah.
Okay. Miracles should inspire gratitude, not awe. There'll be enough time for awe. You should thank God for what you really are. The children of God are holy, and the miracle honors their holiness, which can be hidden, but it can't be lost. Ready? I inspire all miracles. This is the statement of the atonement principle. This is the statement of you as a Savior. Why? You created the world. You can inspire the miracle in your own time sequencing if you choose. I inspire all miracles, which are really intercessions. They intercede for your holiness and make your perceptions holy or whole. By placing you beyond physical laws, they raise you into the sphere of celestial order. In this order, you are perfect. Okay. Celestial order is all associate perception brought to reality. It's a mandala of thought forms expressing themselves wholly at the moment of truth. In Christianity, they're described as principalities, as thrones, as angels, which are the thoughts of that association. They have a perfect order and are dedicated in time to the extension from their mind of their wholeness of their association. As above, so below, as within, so without. Every thought you're having contains the wholeness of it. Okay? There are consciousnesses here that are working miracle associations and limited perceptions. Did you know that? There are angels all around here. They are fulfilling the function of their whole-mindedness in thought-time association. They're all around you. I told somebody one time that the highest thought consciousness runs an elevator at McCormick Place in Chicago. I know him real well. He's doing exactly what he wants to do. He's an angel. Huh? He's totally whole unto himself. Huh? How valuable he is. Just exactly as valuable as he needs to be. See, the miracle is you fulfilling the function of your own mind. That can come into a unity identification, but it cannot escape all of consciousness, can it? And that's what you've decided not to do. Try to escape your own thoughts. What? The universe is going on right here, all of it. What a miracle. Okay. Celestial order. In this order, you are perfect. Miracles honor you because you're lovable. They dispel illusions about yourself and perceive the light in you. They thus atone for your errors by freeing you from your nightmares. By releasing your mind from the imprisonment of your illusions, they restore you to sanity. Holy mackerel. Miracles restore the mind to its fullness. By atoning for lack, they establish perfect protection. Why? The innocent cannot be threatened. The spirit strength leaves no room for intrusion. You literally become whole-minded and there's nothing outside of yourself to attack you. Okay? You've closed the gap between your cause and effect. There's no room for fear to intercede. This is the teaching of the death experience, incidentally. You have looked at death and overcome it, so now that veil is parted and each moment you're dead alive. You're dead alive. There's no distance between your thoughts. The miracle mind has no difference. That's called the holy instant. The miracle mind's conception is wholly, instantaneously whole. In that sense, it dies and is alive. The instant, the holy instant, is you going through a death in time and then reassociating yourself at a later range of time. I am teaching you to undergo continual death processes. Does everybody hear this? Why? This is a death place. Death life. Death life. This is what you're afraid to do. Those of you who are no longer afraid of miracles have simply parted the veil, haven't you? You're not threatened by your own forms that you had projected out to hold you in the death association. Isn't that amazing? Okay. The Spirit strength leaves no room for intrusions. Miracles are expressions of love, but they may not always have observable effects. I'm sorry. That's the way it is. They can only affect to the direct extent your previous associations are willing to accept them. That's testing the Spirit, isn't it? That's a declaration that God is with me. I know this works perfectly, despite my determination to get a result from my own thoughts. And it's the necessity to get a result from my own thoughts that has held me in the limitation of this. You listen to me. Okay? It's working at maximal all the time, isn't it? Well, I tried it and it didn't work. The hell it didn't. It worked perfectly. Wow, you guys really hear me. Ready? Okay. Miracles are examples of right thinking, aligning your perceptions with truth as God created you, bringing you together in time. A miracle is a correction introduced into false thinking by me. It acts as a catalyst, breaking up erroneous perceptions and reorganizing it properly. This places you under the atonement principle where perception is healed. Ready? Until this has occurred, knowledge of divine order is impossible. This is nothing but a statement of the necessity for the transformation of your mind. Okay? That's the whole teaching. Until you undergo this change, knowledge is impossible, right? Divine order is impossible because some part of you is going to be held in the sickness and death. Okay, ready? The Spirit, the Holy Spirit, is the mechanism for the miracle. Okay, it's an illusion, but it's the mechanism of a perfect identity of you with yourself. He recognizes both God's creations and your illusions. He separates the truth from the false by his ability to perceive totally rather than selectively. You are nothing whole-mindedly but an unselective memory. Okay? You are an imprint of the totalness of your own mind coming to the truth. That's the Spirit. It's totally abstract in its thinking. No matter what thought you give it, it will use it in the totalness of the reassociation with your own mind. And that's what the Holy Spirit is. Okay? The miracle dissolves the error, relinquishes it, turns it to light, because the Spirit identifies the error as false or literally unreal. This is the same as saying that by perceiving light, darkness automatically disappears. You can't hold the separation of your perceptual thoughts. Ready? The miracle acknowledges everyone as your brother and mine, and it is a way of perceiving the universal mark or light of God. Wholeness is the perceptual content of miracles. They thus correct or atone for the faulty perception of lack, or the idea that somehow you could be missing something in your own whole self. Okay? Miracles arise, ready, from a miraculous state of mind or a state of miracle readiness, which is forgiveness, which is non-judgment. Okay? The miracle is an expression of an inter-awareness of Christ and the acceptance of his at-one-ment. Ready for this? A miracle is never lost. It can't be, because an idea never leaves its source. All right? This is total source. It may touch many people you have not even met and produce undreamed of changes in situations of which you are not even aware and have no idea. They are finally expression of your own universal mind. They are a statement that I am universal consciousness, and everything I do will be used to correct this chaotic association. Wow. The Spirit is the highest communicative medium. Miracles do not involve this type of communication because they are temporal communicative devices. You ready? This is what's happening to you guys. When you return to your original form of communication with God by direct revelation, the need for miracles is over. Okay? Period. And that's what we're bringing about in you. That's what it's time for you to do, isn't it? That's what you're doing. The miracle is a learning device, ready, that lessens the need for time. It establishes an out-of-time pattern interval. An out-of-pattern time interval, not under the usual laws of time. In this sense, it is timeless. It's just like you're going to step out of time. And all the things that all of your thoughts previously had projected into a future relationship come together. And all of the time that you had constructed to work through all of the difficulties of your need to re-identify in this chaotic association are brought into one bright light of that association of you. That's what's happening to you guys. Wow. Okay, now we're going to do the resolution. The miracle is the only service at your immediate disposal for controlling time. Why? Only revelation transcends it, having nothing to do with time at all. Okay? Okay. The miracle and the revelation are the cause and the effect in whichever way you look at them. Okay? I will give you the revelation so that you can become miracle-minded and be revealed. Okay? Or you can be the miracle worker and become revealed, but finally they'll be the same thing. We used to call one a God man and the other a man God. One is a direct exertion from out of time. The other is the coming from time to God. Okay? One is the atonement principle. A God man is the atonement principle. The correction that occurred simultaneously with the event of the schism. Okay? A man God is a man who remembers that he was God. Okay? He remembers from a time situation his own wholeness. Are they both the same thing? At the moment of revelation, they are singular. But the method may appear to be separate, because an avatar, I'm using all sorts of words here, may suddenly occur in time as a bright spot in that reassociation of the necessity of you. Why? You are under the atonement principle. If you now surround yourself with this light, this later date in time, okay, you will relieve the necessity for you to go through more death experiences, won't you? What are you going to do? Go through the death experience now. The heck with it. I'm not going to wait to die. I've been defending myself. I'm simply going to die and be whole. Okay? And that's what you're doing. Okay. The miracle compares what you have made with creation, accepting what is in accord with its truth and rejecting what is out of accord as false. The power of your mind to be in harmony. The power of your mind, the admission that you are created whole in your own mind. Okay, the next 4 pages, incidentally, the revelation, time, and miracles are incredible. The atonement and the miracle are very beautiful declarations from Jesus to you. Okay, that's what's happened to you now. What time is it?
Great. So you see, some parts of it are coming back in recognizing what I shared with you in the teacher manual. It's like recognizing that you're the cause of it. But then at the same time, and this goes a step further then, is when you see that you can step back as a choice, like you can step back out of it, you see the power, so to speak, work through you. But then at the same time, you're not necessarily looking for the perceptual confirmation of the happening. In other words, what happens in the miracle procedure, you don't always perceive it. You don't always see the confirmation of it. You don't see proof of it all the time. Like now it can happen in any kind of ways. Like, you can of course experience your connection with Source, like in the holy instant. If you die, as Master Teacher said, die in your humanhood, as Joel would say, dying in your humanhood gives you the opportunity to, in fact, allow the light back to come into your consciousness. So it's like, yeah, that's your practice. That's your daily practice, to die to your humanhood, or to recognize the death of your human existence, the death of what you're doing as a human being. And seeing that dense frequency of human experience is a sign for you to remember that that's not what you are, and allow yourself to be, say, taken out of it, you could say, remembering your true light, and remembering in an active, say, present state, not in something like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I am one with God. Like, no. This asks the full, surrender, but it's not really a surrender. It's like the full giving up of your own ideas. That's where it has to do with. Now that's really lovely. So I'm happy that came back too in this. All right, so the next step is that I'm sharing with you some of the expressions that were there a moment ago when we met too, when we saw the talk that is related to the expressions here. And that starts with, in fact, the revelation of yourself. And now I'm going to pull it up and read some of that. See, the great thing here is, one of the examples that Master Teacher mentioned is this. Wait, let me put this away for a second. Sorry. So one of the great things that Master Teacher shared was his, experience with angels, you could say. He says there's one guy in Chicago, in the Chicago area, an elevator person who works in the elevator, who's a total angel. Like he's literally fulfilling his purpose doing that, being of service to the ones that are using the elevator. He's doing exactly what he needs to do, like in its completedness. And you say, like, well, is that an angel? Why would that be an angel? It's like, no. Here, this is in fact has everything to do with the revelation of you, in the sense, like, if you would completely accept yourself as the way that you function and do now, in all your doings, you could say, you recognize your own angelic ancestry too. Like there would be no conflict about it. You would actually, whether you recognize it or not, it's actually what you are. So that revelation may come to you that, oh no, you were fulfilling your function all along. Now this comes to you in very different ways. You just have no idea. So one, and maybe I've used this example before, but this one pops up in my mind, not to confirm my own angelic ancestry, but in fact give you an example of it. See, whenever I express myself, it's not in essence not really about me at all, of course not, but I'm the expression of it. So I use even my memories to express what is, say, mine in my experience. So here's the thing, like I at a certain point was working as a nurse, a psychiatric nurse in a facility. I was a student nurse. I had no idea. I was shy. I was 25-year-old. I was shy as it could be. And the only thing I could do was sit still in these rooms where people were like psychotic and all kinds of, say, different ways of behavior that I had no idea about, coming from some little town somewhere. So it was a revelation to come into this place. But anyway, the important part in this is the exact story of it. Then is this: I thought I failed completely in this what was going on. Like I failed completely in being present there, in helping others, in knowing how to approach this and all this. So there's this one say person who is in a deep psychosis, so deep that I think he has no idea what's going on. He doesn't even know I'm here. But the only thing I could do was just sit there and, in fact, yeah, relax. There was not much more to do for me. Now this, for me, in my evaluation of myself at that point, was like, I don't know if this is for me. I really don't know if I can do this. I'm not sure. Maybe I should look for something else. You know, like this reflection I gave myself. Now the next, say suddenly 25 years later, after who knows what, I walk up against someone who walks at me and says, "Oh, you are this and this person. You are Wim. You are Wim. I remember you. It's like you were the greatest help for me. You were just sitting, being quiet with me instead of anything else. Everyone tried to do something with me, but you were just there. And I want to thank you for that." So this was like 25 years later. I remembered the guy, but I had no memory of that. That was a really great happening for me at that point. So it's like you have no idea that you're already actually fulfilling your function much better than you think you do, or who knows what you think about yourself. But it's like, no, you are expressing yourself. Now it's time to recognize that in yourself as to a certain degree, like a revelation of yourself. So that's one thing I wanted to share before we dive into. But here was a very practical thing that popped up in my mind to share with you. Revelation of yourself. This course, see, and we go back to the beginning of the book, like very basic. We're working an introduction, introducing A Course in Miracles, not the book, but the actual happening. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened, because reality is God and it's whole, and there is nothing to threaten it, recognizing that there is only one and that there's nothing outside of me. Nothing unreal exists. When you are fearful, you are non-existent. Nothing unreal exists. So when you are fearful, you are non-existent. When you are fearful, you are non-existent. I wrote that in there. Everyone should write it into their course. We decided that would be a nice sentence to give you. Otherwise you will identify yourself as yourself and say like, I have fear, I am fearful. No, when you are afraid, you are non-existent. Do you see what you have done? Well, the ego tells me not to be afraid. No, you can't have fear. When you are fearful, and you are, when you find yourself here, you are fear. I am fear. Each moment, I am fear. Perceptual mind, like the mind with which you perceive, you could say, with which you think, is what fear is. Do you see it? How can fear love then, if it is in the tension of its own identity? Like literally, perceptual mind is what fear is. If you think you are what you see, you live in a tension you could call fear. So how could you possibly love then? Like this tension of your own identity related to what you think you are is what is in the way, you could say. Is what is non-existent in reality. It can express the passion of its miscreations. It can call it love, and it can hold it temporarily, but it must be disillusioned by its own mind. So when you are fearful, you are non-existent. Where does the peace of God lie? Right here. Herein lies the peace of God. Yeah. So this is A Course in Miracles. This is A Course in Miracles. It's like when you are fear, you are non-existent. When I trust my perception, when I trust that I'm this being sitting here in this chair doing something, I am what fear is. I am not able to love. I am not able to do that. So when I allow a change to occur inside myself by trusting, like we said in the beginning, like trusting that there is an alternative, you shift literally like into your loveliness. But up to the point where you recognize yourself as this perceptual human being trying to survive in a world of separation, trying to survive, trying to love, trying to do all kinds of things, you don't see that you're actually non-existent. So what happens in the moments I shared this in the beginning, it's like you were trusting someone and now you got disappointed by someone. You know, it's like this experience we all have. Like, what happened then? You were identifying with something. You were trusting your perceptual idea about yourself, like you were trusting the world that you saw, trusting your image of whoever you thought you could trust. You know, that's the actual occurrence. But you didn't recognize that this perceptual idea about yourself is what fear is what not exists. Like it is not what you are. So it is not the love that you are, in other words. So what can come to you as a reflection? What can come to you as an experience in your, say, limitation of yourself? A disappointment. What else could come to you? It is not what love is. What do you expect of it when it's not love? It is fear. But also it is a disappointment. You expect love to return to you, and now that doesn't seem to happen. What's wrong in the situation? I recognize myself as something that I'm not. That's the only thing you can say take out of that. That's the only thing you can conclude. So that's where the miracle comes in. That's where the alternative is available to you. When you recognize that, like I don't expect anything from outside of me. I don't want to, say, trust my perception in this whole story. No, there's something else going on. Sorry. It can express, oh yeah, here it is. How can fear love? How can fear love then, if it is in the tension of its own identity? It can express the passion of its miscreations, it can call it love, and it can hold it temporarily, but it must be disillusioned by its own mind. When you are fearful, you are non-existent. Where does the peace of God lie? Right here. Herein lies the peace of God. Where does the peace of God lie? In this. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. When you are fearful, you are non-existent. That's where the peace of God lies, by recognizing that. Fear is unreal. The earth is unreal. Your perception of this world is unreal. This cannot be so. If this is so, how could God be peaceful? Nobody will answer me. The nutty minds say, well, he's conflictual. Well, that's just nonsense. What are we going to have to do with this impossible situations? We are going to have to get you perceptually miracle-minded. We're going to get you to re-identify yourself in a broader range of consciousness identity. That sounds very exciting. We're going to have to get you to undergo the metamorphosis that many of you are experiencing now, aren't you? Why? This is your whole mind construct. Everything around you is changing now as you change your mind. This all is contained in A Course in Miracles. This whole mind This is your whole mind construct. Everything around you is changing now as you change your mind. So that was the necessity. You can change your mind. You can change your mind about what you think you are, and everything changes. Even if you would say, like, I'm not this fear, your mind would open up for a different experience, in fact. Recognizing that what you have constructed is made of fear, and that's not what you are. So you want the alternative. It's like there must be a different experience. There must be something else. Now we've got the book in front of us. Now we are going to just basically get, before we get into the meat of this, give you the principles of what a miracle is. As I said earlier, it seems very simple, but it really is not. Why? The miracle finally is only the admission of God, which was inevitable in time and true in eternity. Finally, it is the revelation of whole mind, but it can be experienced in the holy instant, or the momentary vision of a reassociation of your mind to the ultimate revelation of yourself. You might want to look at this very simply. I am teaching you from revelation. So is A Course in Miracles. Okay, so this is exactly what this is about. And it's like, yeah, but I don't understand. Can you can you declare this to me? Can you explain this to me? What this actually says? Like, well, it is teaching. Like the Course in Miracles is teaching you directly from the experience. So that's why even in the exercises, say if you read the workbook introduction, you see like understanding these exercises don't make any, it's not necessary. There's no necessity for that. You don't have to understand it. You don't even have to believe it. You don't have to accept it. You just have to do the exercises. Why is that? Because this is working totally different than you are used to or than you can possibly imagine. This is actually, say, working you while you practice your little, your exercises. It is working you. So it's not that by your doing that this works. No, this is going to be done to you because in fact you ask for it. You have said, this cannot be it, there must be something else. And now you got the answer, you could say, which is like A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles is not the book, as we said before too. It's like, it is not the book, it is the experience. So in fact, what Master Teacher shares here is this, like it's coming from direct revelation. It's directly coming from, say, a direct link with Source. And that's why it works. So it's almost like, here's the experience. It is there. You do your exercise. Something opens up in your consciousness, and there's the experience. Because the experience is in fact the provision, or is that what is offered in every lesson, and in fact in the whole Course in Miracles. That's why I say many times, it doesn't really matter if you read one word, if you read a sentence, if you read a paragraph, if you read the whole book, it would all be the same thing. It's all part of the whole. Like one part of this, we saw this on Monday too, it's in the quantum class, you could say. It's like one part of the fractal is the same as the whole fractal. It is the same as every aspect out of it. So it's like, that is being, that is what wholeness is. You cannot separate it. It is a whole recognition of wholeness. It is you coming into the whole recognition of what you are and discovering that you are part of this wholeness by just letting your mind be whole instead of separating yourself off into a separate idea of yourself. See, I'm still trying to explain it, but it is an experience. Simple as that. So the revelation of you is where this has to do with then. It's like the revelation of yourself as a whole mind. Now that is complete. Like that is, in fact, a mind without a disruption or disturbance of separate ideas of death, of limitation, of all of this. Like all this what we practice with stilling our minds in our meditation or in our exercise. Why does that feel good? Because you step into an experience of wholeness and you recognize yourself to be at home, like whole and perfect. You experience yourself for just a moment. You could say in a holy instant, you experience yourself as whole and not as a separate thing. So that's why it's so, say, attractive, in fact, to meet up with one another, to remember that. So, and that's what we do. All right, so to keep it compact, I think it was pretty compact. Thank you so much for being here, for being present, for allowing this frequency to come to you. It's like, here's the provision of your alternative, here it is given, recognizing it in all kinds of ways, and that is totally given. So thank you for sharing that and, say, celebrating with me in that. Thank you so much.